This conference will
why
now be
the change
recorded.
was made and go through each one of them. We will then take questions on it. Once we've gone through every single one of your questions, then we will move on to the next one. Once we've moved on, we're not going to go backwards. So once the questions have been gone through, then we will move to the next one. It's not debates, it's not anything like that, it's strictly questions. So please, and ask all the questions that you want on that change, and then we will move to the next change. Okay, I will start. First one is all administrative, grammar, spelling, renumbering, and state statute requirements will be automatically updated upon completion of vote. The questions I've heard is the word administrative. That really refers to the, where it says, help me, the word.
The document says, whereas Second Amendment
that one.
dated on
Thank
this
you.
date.
Yeah, that one. So, and it's just that wording. Lawyer speak, exactly, lawyer speak. And then grammar, I think, is pretty explanatory, whether it's an N or an A. Spelling is pretty explanatory. Renumbering, state statute requirements will be automatically updated upon completion of vote. That has to do with the last thing, which we will also read, has to do with the clothesline thing. And we checked with the state statute on that, and it has to do with the air drying. And did I lose my microphone on that? Oh, it sounded okay. I can't hear myself. And we will vote on that one, checked with the attorney, and we will have a vote on that one. So we'll read that again at the end. Any questions on that? Yes, please step up to the microphone.
Chuck Harvey, lot 354. I'm concerned about the state statute requirements. I mean, you had one that you put in for the 20% that you said you're not putting in, but it is it is in the state statute. So what's the difference between requirements and the whatever they put in the state?
This state statute, I'll answer that one. This state statute that you're referring to, the 20%, was up to 20% if your governing documents do not have any other requirement. Ours says 6%. Therefore, it is still under state statute.
So that one will be put in?
It will not.
And then the other one, Roberta had mentioned there was one that you added that you were going to discuss in the board, which was a state statute from your board meeting. I don't remember what section it was.
That one was the very last one that we originally had. It was for clotheslines.
No, this one was about.
This one was a verbiage between email, where it says in the state statute now that it can be hard copy, paper copy, or emailed.
Okay.
Sent by paper copy or emailed. It was a verbiage change that, according to our home code advisors, that did not have to go in for a vote because that is a state statute. It doesn't affect anything. It just says that we can either send a paper copy or an email copy notification.
So when you guys update based on state statute, are we going to get notified that you're updating something ahead of time, and we get to say yes or no, or no?
If it's state statute, there is no vote because it's state statute.
Lisa Day, 1317. That's actually not correct. If you have something in your governing documents, state statute does override that. It's null and void, but if it's a change so it can just stay there and it's null and void, but if you decide to change it in the governing documents, then it does have to go to a vote for the people. That's
and it
the
will.
law.
And it will go to a vote.
Okay, that's not what we just heard.
Hi, Lily Atkinson. Maria, you stated that you were going to speak with the attorneys on this, but Roberta, you just said that you spoke with home co-advisors. What's the difference?
We spoke with the home co-advisor on the verbiage one, But on the requirement for the clothesline, we did talk to the attorney on it.
Why isn't the attorney being spoken to about verbiage also?
Well,
Because
we can
verbiage seems to
do
be
that as too. It costs
that's
us
the
every
key
time we
here.
call them, but we can do that.
Isn't
I mean,
verbiage the key?
Sure, we can do that.
Just so you understand, Lily, too, the attorney went through this entire document before we ever even sent it to you or anybody else.
Karen Cox, lot 373. I have concern about that same, what we're talking about, the state statute requirements. For you to decide that a state statute requirement goes in after we voted, I'm not comfortable with that at all. After all, you misinterpreted the whole 20% one. What's to say that you would do the same with something else? I don't like voting on something and then you changing it.
I'm not sure we misinterpreted the 20%. What we stated was we were trying to align, the correct verbiage was, we were trying to align with state statute for 20%, up to 20% without a vote of the residents. And that is what state statute says. Now, state statute does have a tagline in there that says, unless your governing documents have a lower amount. All we said was we were trying to align with state statute. Any new association that comes in automatically goes with the 20%. So that was what we were trying to do. There was such a conglomeration and such a whirlwind of confusion about that and people being upset that that's why we went ahead and removed it so that it wouldn't be an issue. And so we're leaving it as our CC&Rs are written at no more than 6%.
But you missed that phrase of the 6%.
We never missed that stage. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. We never missed that stage. We just stated to you guys, we told you that we were trying to align with state statute, which says 20% unless your documents have less than 6%. But you remember how we wrote them from, this is how it's written in our CC&Rs to, and that's where I think the confusion came.
Well, I disagree.
I'm Barbara Fugelberg, Lot 205, and a former board member. I just want to clarify for the residents that every year the legislatures make changes to the Planned Community Act, of which we fall under. And in that, there are a number of changes that we have to follow regardless of whether they are in our documents. And one of those most recently, well, we did make the change to our CC&Rs, was there was a big change in how, if there was a recall of the board, the process that a board needed to follow. Our prior process was different than the current state statute that got changed. We had to follow the state statute that got changed even though our documents were different. So that's one, if there's a change and our documents differ, we have to follow regardless. But also the state statutes clarify that there are certain situations that that change must be included in your documents in order for it to be followed. And that's what the board was saying, in that the state statute has always said that a planned community or an HOA could increase their dues up to 20% per year if it is in your documents. Per month, thank you, I'm sorry. Per month, if it's in your documents. And that's what they were attempting to change, is change the documents that they had the ability to get up to 20%. Is that clear? So there are some state statutes. Lisa, if it's in our documents that the board could change on an annual basis at up to 20%, the state statutes say that, but it has to be in your documents in order for the board to be able to do that. Okay.
Mickey Aston, Lot 13. I thought we were going to start off this morning by reading something and asking questions, and there's been a discussion about a clothesline issue already, and I don't know where that was read in the last reading. There was also things read in the first reading that we haven't received hard copies of or seen a posting of. There's a lot of questions from the audience about what's included and what's not being included. Can we get a full document of the CC&Rs and the bylaws, full document, red line, strikeout, underlined, so that we don't have to go sentence by sentence by sentence by sentence to compare. Because in this current version that you've posted, there are mistakes. I would love to have a full document so that I don't have to pull up multiple documents. And I think that would eliminate some confusion on what you're talking about. Not from the audience. And thank you guys for being here. Truly, thank you very much.
Of course, you can have a full document. Are there any more questions on this change? It's posted. It'll be posted.
The full document.
The full document.
Opening to closing, first page to last page,
Yes.
CC&Rs and bylaws.
Yes. Now,
Thank
can
you.
we move on to the next question?
With the changes, the proposed changes, the strikeouts, and the new.
Yes. Now,
Thank
can we
you.
move on?
Thank you. I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
Okay, the first change, it's a bylaw change, Article 2, Section 2, meetings. From, meetings of owners shall be held at the principal place of business of the corporation or at such other convenient place as may be designated by the board of directors. Annual meetings of the owners shall be held on the third Tuesday in February in each year beginning at 7 p.m. or at such other time as the board may select in its own discretion. 2, meetings of the owners shall be held at the principal place of business of the corporation or at such other convenient place as may be designated by the board of directors. Annual meetings of the owners shall be held on the third Tuesday in April in each year beginning at 1 p.m. or at such other time as the board may select at its own discretion. The annual meeting agenda only includes approval of prior year minutes, president's annual report, treasurer's annual report, and formal introduction of board of directors for the next fiscal year. No other business is conducted. Special meetings of the owners may be called by the president or by a majority of the directors or by owners having at least 2/5 of the votes entitled to be cast at such meeting. The notice of any special meeting shall state the time and place of such meeting and the purpose thereof. Note, this is just to explain why this change was made. This change aligns with the new fiscal year. The association's fiscal year end was changed from April to June so that the annual meeting is moved back 2 months as well from February to April.
Can I ask a question at this point? Okay, Debbie Heim, 1157. I was looking at the timing of all the meetings and stuff, the annual meeting, the elections also for the board of directors. Since you have changed the fiscal year to the end of June, there's probably 3/4 of the residents are gone. Was that taken into consideration, or are we going to get anything extra because of that? I mean, that's...
I'm not quite understanding why you're concerned about the fiscal year end. I understand maybe the meeting, but the fiscal year end...
The fiscal year end, I understand, with all the paperwork and stuff.
Correct.
But what my question has to do with is, when are the board of directors going to be able to run for their offices, for, meet people, that kind of thing? We're going to be gone. And it's probably 3/4 of the residents are. And I don't, so.
It's moving back a month, like February and March. People will be here. We will have the meetings where you can meet your proposed board of directors or the people running while people are still here. We are not moving that. It will move back slightly, but people still should be here. I think most everybody's still here in March. The voting is now electronic. You do not have to be present to vote.
What happens if we want to be present though, and because of the timing, we can't be?
The voting is electronic.
Well, this year.
You can still request a paper ballot if that's what you choose to do.
Okay,
If
but
there's
what
an
I'm saying
exception,
is
a
like
reasonable
even-
exception for that.
Even the annual meeting, everything is,
The annual
the
meeting
time.
is online, or it will be recorded. You can look at it later. So I'm not quite understanding exactly what
Okay.
your concern is.
I guess my concern is the fact that not everybody is online. This is, my computer has been sitting there since I got back, and I have avoided going online because of all the complications that I've run into. And I just wonder if, not everybody is online. We're an older community, many of us, and we weren't brought up with all the computers and stuff. And I don't know about anybody else, but speaking for myself, it's a pain in the neck because we get so much spam, so much, all that stuff. So I hope there is paper, and I hope it's provided ahead of time. So
There will be paper. If you have an exception, you don't use a computer, fine, you can have paper. This is to more facilitate our committee work. Our committee work now, especially for the Finance Committee, is over Christmas. People aren't here. We're trying to move everything back. And for BGM, that's another very important committee, where their members aren't here. And if we move the fiscal year end back, it gives them more time to do their work, in addition to the other items that we've discussed here. There's nothing in the annual meeting. No business is discussed at the annual meeting. And like I said, it is online. Everything will be made available.
Lisa Day, again, 1317. Thank you for clarifying what will be in the annual meeting. I think that's something we all wanted to hear, so thank you for doing that. But I think what I heard others say is that residents want to be present for the annual meeting. I think that was the voice we heard her say. My question, though, regarding Article 2, Section 2 meetings is, what happens to the fiscal year if we vote no on changing the annual meeting date, since the board has already changed the fiscal year? How do you fix that? We vote no, you've already made a change.
The fiscal year has not yet been officially changed with the IRS. If the vote is no, then we won't change it.
Okay, that's what we didn't understand, so thank you for clarifying that. And just to speak to what you just also said, Becca, about 20 minutes ago, Sue Deal just posted on Facebook from the Communications Committee that if you don't have an email address, you can then have a paper ballot, but there's no other reason that you can have a paper ballot. And she said, come to the board if you have any questions. So again, your communications chair just posted something absolutely contrary to what she said in the meeting yesterday. So I'm coming to the board for clarification. If a person requests a paper ballot, can they have one? Thank you.
Chris Grovedahl, lot 731. My question is, it says the annual meeting agenda only includes, and then it goes on, and then it also says no other business is conducted. What will keep the board from adding something? Should there be wording in there that says no other business will be conducted? There should be a limit on what the board can conduct in that meeting if it's going to be changed.
First of all, the annual meeting is a membership meeting. It is not a business meeting. No business is discussed at the annual meeting, and what is being changed is the date of the annual meeting. They're two totally separate items.
would you like me to read what Sue posted?
We haven't seen it, so I'm not sure how we can answer a question when we haven't seen the
Okay,
posting.
and all I was going to do was read exactly what Sue wrote that Lisa referenced. I'm Jackie Adamson, Lot 528.
Okay,
So I can or not, it's up to you.
you can read it, that's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you. At yesterday's communication meeting, we learned that owners without smartphones, computers, tablets, etc., will be able to request paper ballots for the upcoming Board of Director and CC&R change election in February. HTCA is aware of the 40-plus residents who do not have email and will arrange to get paper ballots to them. Please be aware that paper ballots will need to be manually entered into the Election Buddy system by hand by HTCA employees. The options for voting for everyone except those without email are using the electronic devices you feel comfortable with, or bringing the message with the 6-digit code you will receive to the library for help. A schedule for library help will be posted. Training events for using Election Buddy are scheduled January 16 and 28, 2005. The election period is February 3 through February 14. Between now and then, you will see blasts and the latest updates. If you have more questions, please contact the HTCA office or board member.
And I would like to hold off all the election questions until we have Election Buddy classes and stuff. They will be extensive Election Buddy classes coming up in the next month. This is about the CC&R changes, please. This is CC&R questions and answers. Yes, go ahead.
Kathy Stark, Lot 1405. When you have the section 2, beginning with the statement special meetings of the owners, you have that listed, you have it in red. It is exactly the same wording as exists currently, which makes it confusing, and back to the request to have all the documentation available. Because I printed out bylaws and I went through it. It's like, wow, that's a whole lot more that they're changing, but there's no changes. You've got it listed in red, and that's what confuses people when there's inconsistency.
I'm not following what you're saying.
I think there's verbiage here that is actually black in the original one.
From that down, it's identical to what would be up here, but you didn't post it up there, so it makes it confusing.
All right, we should have had it all in the top one as well.
Okay, all I did was point out to her my printout where it's in red, and it's not new, it's not a change, and it should have just been left off of the type of the
Any
two
further
changes.
questions on this article? Okay, we're moving to the next article. Article 3, Section 2, Qualifications of Candidates Seeking Election to the Board. This is an addition. It's not a change from or to. So the addition is, in order to be eligible for election to the board, candidates must be members of the association, and each candidate must have been a member of the association for at least 1 year before being eligible to run for election. In addition, each candidate must be in good standing with the association, which means the candidate must not have any open violations of the association's governing documents on his or her account and must not be delinquent in any amounts due to the association. This is a new section in the bylaws. It provides requirements for the board candidates. Basically, it means don't be in arrears. We had shortened this. It was a much longer thing. I will explain this. When we were running for the board, there was a number of candidates that hadn't even lived here for a few months. There was a number of candidates that their requirement was that they like to dance. We talked about this a lot. Being on the board is a huge obligation. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of energy. It It is a big commitment and big involvement. And we as a board looked at it very seriously and felt that anybody who ran should do the same. And that was part of the reason that we made it as long as we did originally. And when it came back and we listened to you, that you thought it was way too lengthy and that you felt that vetting was your responsibility and not ours, we went ahead and cut it down. And we hope that you as would do the same, because you're putting your trust in this board to make a lot of decisions, as you well know. And a big chunk of the residents are gone for 6-8 months out of the year. But the board is not. The board continues meeting 12 months out of the year. And they're making decisions 12 months out of the year, whether you're here or not. And it's important that they're continuing to take webinars to educate themselves. We cannot know everything. We don't. We don't know all the state statutes. We don't know all the HOA rules. We don't know everything. And that's why it's important to have 7 people up here with diverse backgrounds, with HOA backgrounds, with finance backgrounds, with different backgrounds that have experience, that come up here with experience. I can tell you myself, I take 2 webinars a month, every single month, to keep myself educated so that I can know a little bit more. And I attend every single committee meeting that I possibly can so that I can keep abreast of what all the committees are doing. There's a lot of time commitment to it. So it's important. And that's why we wanted to put some strong language in this CC&R requirement so that people take this job seriously. It's a serious job. Questions?
Vicki Griffiths, Lot 1408, and I totally agree, Marie. It is a big, big commitment. And but I do have a question, because some people are confused and they think that that goes into effect this year, not next year, if it's voted in. So we just wanted to clarify that if you are here and you have not been here at least a year, you can still put your application in. There's a lot of people that have moved here that have a lot of HOA backgrounds and they know the law and everything. So, you know, why restrict them? But I just want you to know it does not go into effect this year, okay? And thank you. It's a big commitment, I know. And, you know, Roberta was only living here as she bought a property 2 months prior. But she's doing a great job, so it's wrong.
Jeff Sands, Lot 1116. The only question that I see with this is it says, you know, each candidate must be in good standing with the association, not have any open violations. Wouldn't that be a little bit of a problem if somebody was wanting to challenge a violation that you guys put in? So they wouldn't be able to run at all, but yet they haven't met through. I mean, I can see being caught up and being with all your fees and the different things it costs, but I don't know about somebody that gets a violation that none of you know about yet, but they have it and they're going to challenge it, and yet they say, well, nope, you just can't put your thing in because you haven't done it, and maybe they're not going to get here to challenge it before then. Just a thought.
Any other questions? Okay, move on to the next question.
Article 3, Section 3, Director Qualifications. From, each director shall be an owner or the spouse of an owner, or if an owner is a corporation, partnership, or trust, a director may be an officer, partner, or beneficiary of such owner. If a director shall cease to meet such qualifications during his term, he will thereupon cease to be a director, and his place on the board shall be deemed vacant. 2, each director shall be an owner or the spouse of an owner, or if an owner is a corporation, partnership, or trust, a director may be an officer, partner, or beneficiary of such owner. Directors must be and remain in good standing with the association. If a director shall cease to meet such qualifications during his term, he will thereupon cease to be a director, and his place on the board shall be deemed vacant. Note, provides updated requirements for board of directors. Are there any questions on this particular change?
Marion Connolly, lot 1645. My question is, if the spouse of an owner is a director and the owner passes away, what happens when there's they no longer meet that qualification? It says a director must be an owner or the spouse of an owner, or if an owner, I was just thinking of a situation where maybe someone became a director because they were the spouse of an owner and the person who is the owner is now deceased. Are they off the board, or do they finish out their term? Or am I not thinking about it correctly?
I am assuming, and I don't have an absolute answer on this, but I'm assuming that if she's a spouse, she would be considered a co-owner on the property, but it is a good question. We can check that out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I know your job isn't easy, but I want you to know right now, there's an undercurrent of mistrust going around that people came in and are trying to change everything. And I don't like it, but it's just here. And I've heard comments, and you're going to have a tough time changing a lot of things or adding a lot of things at the same time. I've been here 23 years. I do not leave in the summer. I'm here all year round. And sometimes I think the directors don't understand that this is our one and only home. We don't go anywhere else in the summer. We don't have a different state license plate on our vehicle. And I think some of us are a little worried about changes that are just seem to be rolling on a little fast. Thank you.
All right, we're ready? Okay. Overall changes throughout the document. From manufactured HUD home means those vehicles, residences, including but not limited to recreational vehicles, double wides, snuggle wides, park models, and mobile homes that are. 2, manufactured home means all manufactured homes such as villas, snuggle wide homes, and single and double wide homes. These homes may have an affidavit
affidavit of a fixture. 1.30, remove residence vehicle. 1.31, add recreational vehicle RV.
Excuse me,
She's not done reading yet.
but she didn't start at the beginning.
Oh, here, from manufacturer. From residence vehicle.
All right, sorry. Okay, that didn't print on mine. From residence vehicle to manufacturer HUD and recreational vehicle, add manufactured home. From manufactured HUD home means those vehicles, residences, including but not limited to recreational vehicle, double wides, snuggle wides, park models, and mobile homes that are. 2, manufactured home means all manufactured homes such as villas, snuggle wides, and single and double wide homes. These homes may have an affidavit of a fixture. 1.30, remove residence vehicle. 1.31, add recreational vehicle, RV. 1.31, recreational vehicle. From recreational vehicle means a vehicular type unit primarily designed as temporary living quarters for recreational camping or travel use, which is not designed for permanent residence or commercial purposes and is more fully defined in the rules and regulations of the association. 2, recreational vehicle means a recreational vehicle RV that is either towed behind or motorized, that includes living quarters designed for accommodation and has a vehicle identification number, VIN. It can be used for recreation, camping, or travel use. Types of RVs include motorhomes, camper vans, fifth wheels, travel trailers, park models, etc. Note, more clearly defines manufactured home and recreational vehicle RV.
Good morning. Sean Ellis, lot 745. I got an easy one for you. The park models from the from needs to get moved down to the 2. It got omitted accidentally, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I want to address that issue that Sean was just talking about. We found that park models are actually considered recreational vehicles, not manufactured homes. And when we were going through all of these, we learned that park models have a VIN number, and they are not manufactured homes. So they're recreational vehicles in our definition now. We just found out that change when we were going through this process. Okay. Next one. Section 3, Association, 3.16, Funds of the Association. From funds of the association from any source other than small amounts for petty cash or similar purposes shall be kept on deposit in federally insured financial institutions and fully insured accounts. 2, funds of the association from any source other than small amounts for petty cash or similar purposes shall be kept on deposit in federally insured financial institutions and fully insured accounts with the option of no more than 25% of excess funds to be invested in other guaranteed and or secured investment vehicles, treasuries, bonds, annuities. Note, alternate investment vehicles would only be used when normal federally insured investments offer little or no return on investment. The examples given have guaranteed return rates but are not FDIC insured. This change gives the board some flexibility when normal CD and savings interest rates are very low. I will. I'll start asking questions.
Good morning. Brian Souders, Lot 38. Looking at this 25%, And considering last year's financial statements and our current financial statement, what dollar value does this 25% equal on average?
It is going to be probably, if you take all our funds into account, over $1 million. And let me explain something, since questions have started now. We have an investment policy that already allows these types of investments. We had that policy when these investments that we currently have were made. After that point, we realized that our CC&Rs were not in alignment with the investment policy. And the investment policy was approved by the Finance Committee and the board years ago. In the beginning, the one that when I came on board in the 22, that was the investment policy. We never did anything outside that investment policy, and every single investment that we have is secure and guaranteed returns. It's just not FDIC insured. I'm sure all of you, or a lot of you in this room, have investments. And I would venture to say that most of those investments are not necessarily in money market or CDs. This is all we're talking about, to put our money in other secured investment vehicles that can give us a better return on investment. I will tell you, when I started, the first year I was here, we earned a paltry $1,200 in interest. This last year, we earned over $140,000 in interest. So I do believe we are acting in your best interests.
Thank you.
Becca, let me add that public entities use these same investment vehicles. School boards, which are strictly controlled through federal and state legislature, always use bonds, and they are agreed to by the federal and state institutions that oversee them. And they make their money through those to support innovations and improvements in the districts. But it is very common for public entities to use these particular forms of investment, and they are overseen by both federal and state entities.
Chuck Garvey, lot 354. Under the your policy, who is on this investment committee? Because it's listing its committee member and the board, but it doesn't say who they are, or we've never seen any documents on any of the committees or any minutes from the investment committee.
The investment committee does not meet on a regular basis, but it includes the president of the board, the treasurer of the board, and an individual from the finance committee.
Lisa Day, 1317 again. So I have a copy of the investment policy and I have a copy of the finance committee charter. And that brings a lot of questions to hand, because when I look at the balance sheet that came out in September, we get one every quarter, we currently have over $1 million of our funds in non-FDIC insured accounts. Over $1 million that are in annuities.
I already said that.
I'm sorry, I know I'm speaking though, thank you, Becca. Annuities are not guaranteed. They're issued by insurance companies, they're not issued by banks. You've put us in a very vulnerable position. And that's supported by the investment policy. Our investment policy very clearly states that we need to be in FDIC insured accounts. We also have funds that are in corporate annuities. You've got our funds in very precarious, very dangerous situations. And I think by asking for 25% of our money to continue, actually it's even more than what we have right now, to have 25% of our funds in these precarious situations is asking a lot. And I have to ask you, why do you think that's acceptable, that we would allow a board at their discretion now and in the future? It's not just this board. If we approve this, we're approving every board from this point on to make financial decisions like this without going to the people, without going to us for a vote. So if we approve this, we're giving carte blanche to everybody that sits up there from this point on to make those financial decisions. Thank you.
I will say that I disagree with your assessment. All these investments that we have made are guaranteed and insured, just not FDIC. FDIC, what options do you have? CDs. A few years ago, we were making less than 1% interest on CDs. You really have to look at the time that you're investing and what is available. And we have an investment advisor or a financial advisor that helps us with this. We don't do it ourselves. We go to this individual in this company and say, we're looking for a way to securely invest our funds that gives us more return than CDs. And we take their advice. We look at what they've offered and take their advice. We're not doing this on our own. So I somewhat resent the statement that we're willy-nilly putting your money wherever, because that is not the case.
Beck, I appreciate what you're saying, but we have documents that Marie and Marilyn signed, that past presidents have signed, documents that you're supposed to be following, and you're not. These documents very clearly speak to FDIC insured, not just generally insured. Insurance companies go down. Banks have gone down. Without FDIC insurance, we don't have any guarantees that the government will cover us. And even then, the government only covers us to $250,000 per account. You're putting us in a very bad financial position. Most importantly, you're not following current CC&R standards. Our current guidance is very clear, and you know what it states. You're blatantly following it, and I'm talking to the whole board, not just you, Becca. And then why do you have a charter, and why do you have a policy if you're not following it? That's my question.
I think we are following the policy. And let me finish. When I came on this board, none of the people on this board were aware that we were not in compliance with our CC&Rs. We did not do it intentionally at that point. We inherited a lot of it.
When did you come on board?
22.
Okay. So the charter was signed this year.
The finance
charter was signed this year. The investment policy was signed in 2020.
We followed the investment policy of 2020.
Yes, you did. And these investments in the annuities were made after that. So you put money into non-FDIC insured accounts, not following this policy. The dates are here, Rebecca.
Mickey Aston, Lot 13, and I forgot to tell you, I'm a 39-year owner at Happy Trails, and I care very much about all of you and Happy Trails. I appreciate what you said, I think it was Marilyn, that other people invest in riskier institutions. School boards might do something different. You all might be doing something different with your hard-earned money, but we have a hierarchy of documents. There's a code of conduct that all of these hardworking people signed. There is the investment policy from 2020, which protects our hard-earned money at Happy Trails. There is the charter. I have these documents. Most of them are posted. Some of them are not. There's a hierarchy of documents, and our CC&Rs that you are wanting us to change would take away that security for millions of dollars, and you would be able to put it into what you have right now as annuities, which are insured by LPL Financials. To be transparent, I've asked for all the documentation on the annuities. I want to know what types. I want to know when they're due. Some of them are due in 2027. They're tied up. They're not going to cash them out. The money is tied up. I just feel that your fiduciary responsibility to follow the code of conduct and the CC&Rs has been neglected, sadly. And
Is there a question here, Lisa?
yes, but I'm Mickey.
I mean, Mickey.
That's
I
Lisa.
apologize.
It's okay.
I
I take that compliment. My question is, why are we not following the CC&Rs?
I'm not quite sure what you're trying to prove, but yes, you are correct. And when it was determined that the money that we invested was in something that did not follow the CC&Rs, from then on, when things mature, they are again put in CDs in federally insured banks, in FDIC insured. We have not done anything since we became aware, or I became aware of the CC&R saying FDIC insured. We have not invested anything into anything other than FDIC insured vehicles, banks.
When was the last time an investment was made in a non-FDIC insured account? That was
22.
That's what I show. I think you told me in the email end of 22 or 23, and I believe it was July of 22. But I'm only looking at superfluous documentation that's posted, so I don't have the hard documentation on it. If anybody has questions for me later, please find me.
Will McNamee, Lot 1674. First off, I want to thank you guys for putting this together and opening this up for conversations. What the board looks like they're trying to do here is make a correction to something that they know is incorrect. They're trying to get it in line with what they're doing or proceeding to do. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing. They're trying to make things right here. And this is not a majority. Definitely the people here that are speaking are not a majority of the people that live here. And the people that are on websites out here and social media are definitely not the majority of the people that live here. If the majority were here that wanted to be interested in it, they'd be here. They'd be here today yelling and screaming, but only a few of you are yelling and screaming today. And it's inappropriate. And your conduct,
This is not an argument. Please sit down. He has the microphone.
Sit down.
You can wait sitting down. This is not an argument. He has a right to speak.
Thank you. And that's my thoughts. And I'm pumped.
So this is on the line.
Thank you. It's just my thoughts and my things and my feelings. And I think what you guys are doing are appropriate. And I think the changes need to be made. And I agree with them. Thank you.
Please understand, no one is attacking your character. It has nothing to, you think that. We are only asking specific questions. We want specific answers. You are all losing it. You're not being professional at all. If something bothers you, you're not answering the question. You're just pushing it along and with attitude. So it's up to you, even in your Robert rule book. You have to get a little bit of a thicker skin and be kinder. Each one of us are allowed our perspective, period. There's 3,000 of us here. True, there's only a little bit here. But still, the ones that are here are allowed our opinions. So don't try to sidetrack us or punch us off our game. And that's what I feel you're doing, especially, and I don't mean to point, I have a habit of moving my hands. If there's a specific question asked, try and answer the specific question. That's all I'm asking. I don't understand about this. Would you put your money in an account that you weren't sure of for like years? I would do it for 6 months, but I wouldn't do it for 2 or 3 years.
When we did them with the assurance that we would get our money back with interest. I'm not sure why everybody thinks I'm trying to do something. I've been extremely honest with everybody here. We did exactly as I said we did. And why? We weren't aware of current policy or whatever. Trying to be extremely transparent, so I'm not quite sure why you feel I'm not being transparent.
I said, you're taking offense very easily. It has nothing to do, I don't know what you did. It's already done as far as I'm concerned. Lisa enlightened me by saying 2 years it's been in there. I'm asking, when you're up here and you're discussing something, if you don't like what we're saying, that's too bad. Get over it and try and get a thick skin to calm us down. Your actions set us off, at least me.
I would just like to say briefly that the purpose of this is to answer your questions. We're here to answer questions. We need to remember that every one of these CC&R changes can be voted on by each and every owner individually. So if there's something that you don't like, certainly you can vote no. It is not, that is your choice. That is a choice we have given you. So please understand that we want to answer the questions that you may have about the specific proposed change. But if you do not care for our answer or you feel differently, you have the right to vote one way or the other.
Frank Pollen, 1513. What you have here is a ruling after the fact that you have been investing in annuities and FDIC. Do we get an annual report on profits and losses on the, is it printed out so everybody can see it on the?
It's on the financial statements every month.
I didn't know that. But what you've done here is you have invested money that is not in FDIC insured, and now you're asking to correct that on the document you have here on the screen. So it's not that creates a error of suspicion that you have done something or not particularly you, but a board in the past has created a funding that is not under the CCRs that we have. So you're not asking us, you're asking us to approve something that's already been done.
Yes, and we've been upfront about that, and we've corrected it since we discovered that the two documents, the investment policy and the CC&Rs, were out of sync, were not in agreement. And since then, all monies that have matured or become available have been put in FDIC insured investment vehicles, CDs, essentially.
Who makes the decision on what annuities are bought?
We worked with this hasn't been done for a very long time. These are annuities that have been around since 22, 23. I don't know the exact date. We worked with our financial advisor in LPL Financials. That's the person we worked with. Apparently he's been worked with this institution for many, 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 many years. This isn't somebody we just went out and found. We have an established relationship, and that individual gave us opportunities or presented what he thought we should do with the money.
Is there a cost to this advisor, and is it put on the profit and loss?
Oh, is there a cost? Yes. We pay less than a normal financial institution would charge. I can't remember. I think we pay 75 basis points. Usually people pay 100 to 125 basis points.
Is that reported on the profit and loss paper?
It's part of the statement that we receive from the company, and then the income and losses that are recorded on our financials.
So it's individually put on the profit and loss as what the cost of the
Not the
financial
cost.
advisor is.
The cost is combined and it's all in one entry.
Thank you.
Patrice Carmody, Lot 946. I was just wondering if on the investments that aren't FDIC insured, if there's ever been a loss.
When the economy took a dump, yes, but we are now gaining those back. It's an unrealized loss. None of those have been cashed out, so to speak. None of those have matured. But right at first, yes, we did record some losses.
Okay, thank you.
Marion Connolly, 1645. It says under no alternate investment vehicles, is any of our money funds invested in gold?
No.
And why not?
Because it's not a secured, guaranteed investment. We would never invest in gold.
Well, if we learned anything these past 4 years, we cannot assume that anything run by the government is going to take care of us. We have to take care of ourselves. So I don't worry about whether something is FDIC insured. The FDIC could disappear tomorrow, and we better have another backup. Thank you.
Don't be so doom and gloom, Marion. For transparency purposes, someone mentioned, I think a board member mentioned, the past board had maybe started these investments prior to this board. Can I have a show of hands to who is on the past board? Cindy, were you on the past board? Roberta, were you on the past board?
What past board?
The one prior to this board.
Well, yeah. Last year we only have Jennifer, the new person.
Jennifer, you're the only new person on this board. That's all I wanted to clarify for my head.
Remember, these investments were 3 years ago, and most of us were not on this board. I think Marilyn might have been the only one that was on the board.
3 years ago? I'm showing July or August of 22. So that's maybe 2 years ago. And also the Finance Committee, also known as the Budget Committee. Actually, I know it is the Budget Committee. They call it the Finance Committee. That is a pretty consistent group of people also. It's my understanding. So the people who were on it prior are still on it today. Thank you.
Okay, can we move to the next question, please? Yep.
Section 5, Assessments, 5.1, Creation of Lien and Personal Obligation. From each owner, by acceptance of a deed or other covenants of an interest in a lot, or by acceptance of his membership, is deemed to covenant and agree to pay to the association regular assessments, special assessments, pass-through assessments, capital improvement assessments, and reconstruction assessments if applicable. Such assessments to be established and collected from time to time as provided in this declaration. The assessments, together with interest thereon, late charges, attorney's fees, and court costs, and other costs of collection thereof, as hereinafter provided, shall be a continuing lien upon such owner's lot, but not against any resident vehicle located thereon, against which the assessments are made. Each assessment, together with such interest and other costs, shall also be the personal obligation of the owner to whom such assessment relates. The personal obligation for delinquent payments shall not pass to to an owner's successor unless expressly assumed by him. The obligation of all persons who collectively are the owners of a lot to which such assessment relates for the payment of all assessments shall be joint and several. Proposed 2. Each owner, by acceptance of a deed or other conveyance of an interest in a lot, or by acceptance of his membership, is deemed to covenant and agree to pay to the association regular assessments, special assessments, pass-through assessments, capital improvement assessments, and reconstruction assessments if applicable. Such assessments to be established and collected from time to time as provided in this declaration. The assessments, together with interest thereon, late charges, attorney's fees, and court costs, and other costs of collection thereof, as hereinafter provided, shall be a continuing lien upon such owner's lot, but not against any recreational vehicle or manufactured home without an affidavit of a fixture located thereon, against which the assessments are made. Each assessment, together with such interest and other costs, shall also be the personal obligation of the owner to whom such assessment relates. The personal obligation for delinquent payments shall not pass to an owner's successor unless expressly assumed by him. The obligation of all persons who collectively are the owner of the lot to which such assessment relates for the payment of assessments shall be joint and several. This was changed to reflect the change from resident vehicle to recreational vehicle or manufactured home and defines what is covered.
Any questions on this one?
Sharon O'Leary, 602. I have a manufactured home, which is no longer a manufactured home. It's now a recreational vehicle. But I have an Arizona room. Does that change anything? Is it the VIN number on my manufactured home, which now identifies it as a recreational vehicle? But I can't move it. Okay, so nothing changes for me, right? Just the word.
No, it's just the wording, and we had to do that because of that VIN number.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm Karen Bartlebaugh, 1596. I have a question. I'm not quite sure of the, I just did something I'm mad about when I can't hear people, sorry. Definitions. It looks like the reason this was changed because of the residence vehicle to recreational vehicle or manufactured home. In a previous definition, it talks about the manufactured home. What we're changing it to is villas, snuggle wides, etc. But says these homes may have an affidavit of a fixture. Now, is that the plate that is in the, I have double wide. So is that the plate that, what's an affidavit of a fixture? I guess that's number one. I think maybe everybody else knows what it is, but I'm assuming what it is. And I'll let you answer that quickly.
Affidavit of a fixture means that you've gone through the process with the, I think it's the county, where your property changes from personal property, your home, changes from personal property to real property, and it changes your property taxes. It's a process that you go through at the county.
Okay, so it's not the tag that's on your property then. Okay.
It affixes, it tells the county that your home is permanent, it's not moving, it's affixed to real property.
Okay.
If it doesn't have that affidavit, it's considered personal property, whether you can move it or not.
So that's why it's the difference between the lien, because the first one, that was not they could not hold that with the lien, it was just the property.
Correct.
It sounds like. So that's why it's being changed, because
Yes.
it goes from personal property to, what did you
Real
say,
property.
real property?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It probably happened before you either bought it or when you bought it. Oops.
Frank Pollen, 1513. Do any of these new rules pertain to side-by-sides that we're driving around on the lots at all?
No,
Okay, that's all I wanted.
those are strictly just vehicles.
No further questions? Okay, moving to the next one.
Purpose of assessments, 5.2. From, the assessments levied by the association shall be used to promote the recreation, health, safety, and welfare of the owners, to enhance the quality of life within the property, to preserve the value of the property, to pay the cost of administration of the association and all common expenses, to cover the cost of mail sorting, pickup, and delivery service to lot owners and occupants, or to otherwise further the interest of the association. Where a lot has separate gas, electrical, sewer, or other similar utility services, the cost of the same shall be the personal obligation of each owner and shall not be included in the regular assessments. Instead, cost incurred by the association in providing stormwater and sewer services to a lot shall be levied as pass-through assessments pursuant to section 5.5 below. Maintenance of sewer lines serving a single lot shall be the responsibility of the lot of the owner owning such lot. Proposed 2. The assessments levied by the association shall be used to promote the recreation, health, safety, and welfare of the owners, to enhance the quality of life within the property, to preserve the value of the property, to pay the cost of administration of the association and all common expenses, and to otherwise further the interest of the association. Where a lot has separate gas, electrical, sewer, or other similar utilities service, the cost of the same shall be the personal obligation of each owner and shall not be included in the regular assessments. Maintenance of the sewer lines serving a single lot shall be the responsibility of the owner owning such lot. This removes to cover the cost of mail, sorting, pickup, and delivery services, which are included in the common expenses and do not need to be listed separately. Removes the requirement to charge a pass-through assessment for stormwater and sewer services. These charges will become part of the regular assessment. Right now, currently, they're separate. I think they're $15.67 a month. They'll be moved into the regular assessment. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay. Next one, pass-through assessments.
Okay. 5.5, pass-through assessments. From, pass-through assessments shall be levied by the association against an owner and his lot to reimburse the association for costs incurred by the association. Pass-through assessments include costs incurred by the association in providing storm and water and sewer services to the owner's lot and may include other such charges that meet the criteria as stated in section 1.4.5 pass-through assessments. Proposed 2. Pass-through assessments shall be levied against the shall be levied by the association against an owner and his lot to reimburse the association for costs incurred by the association in providing services to the owner's lot and may include other such charges that the board in its discretion determines should be categorized as pass-through assessments, including but not limited to costs that meet the criteria set forth in sections 1.4.5 pass-through assessments. Removes the requirement for stormwater and sewer costs to be levied as pass-through assessments. No new pass-through assessments are being considered at this time.
Kathy Stark, lot 1405. I just want to clarify between those two because they're kind of related. Basically what you're saying is we're just not going to itemize it anymore. Just wanted to make sure it was just that simple. Thank you.
I'm also looking at 5.5 currently, and the one prior, I believe, was 5.2. But 5.5, the one that we're on right now, talks about pass-through assessments. What does the word for the board in its discretion, what does that mean? Determines should be categories. What does that mean? We're giving you freedom to change things? Your discretion to do things without a vote?
I think it has to meet the requirements of a pass-through assessment before we could do anything with it.
Okay.
And those are stated in the previous document. They didn't change in this document.
Okay. I just have a question about the word giving the board discretion. Also, I've been looking, after all these years, I've been looking at our bills every month, and there are two line items. The water sewer storm is $15.22 on my bill, $15.22. I believe my monthly assessment is $201.07. The 201.07 was raised last year, I believe, 6%. It was 189 something. The separate assessment, the pass-through assessment of the water, storm, sewer, whatever that second one is was not raised up 6% when the board raised our dues. So by putting that separate line item and any other pass-through separate items into our monthly assessment, that would also be increased by 6%. And that's a bill that comes from the city for our water. It's one big bill divided up by 2001 lots. And that's where the 1522 comes in. If you look at one of the financial sheets, that's $365,000 a year that you collect the 1522. And if that went up 6%, the board would have another $21,900. I don't know why we need to pay more. Hi, Bill. I don't know why we need to pay the water bill and have that included in the 6% raise on our HOA dues. And I understand just this morning in the Finance Committee that the city is going to raise our water bill. But anytime that happens, it comes through as a separate new amount on our HOA monthly dues, I believe. Anyway, I just don't know that I want to put my pass-through assessments into my monthly assessments and have them raised up 6% every year. Thank you.
I'm going to defer to Bill.
Allow me to address a little bit of this issue because it's something I've been looking at. First of all, water is not included. It's not a pass-through. It's separate. It always has been divided by that. So water will be part of it and is subject to the budget requirements. As far as the stormwater number, each of your lots are considered one equivalent unit. And the entire city of Surprise has equivalent units. So the association has also equivalent units. For instance, town center is so many equivalent units. The boulevard is so many equivalents. Some of the street corners that are common property are so many equivalent units. And we get a bill, and it's split. And what is built into the monthly assessment is the association's part of equivalent units. What is in the pass-through is your individual ones. So there's a split in how they're done and such. So the pass-through goes. Pass-through is not a good thing for the residents. Pass-through says we're going to claim and recover every single dollar we're charged. So this year, if we made an estimate of how much to charge in pass-through, and we're short money, we didn't estimate enough because the bill shows up in July, well after the year started, we will take the balance that we did not recover and add it to next year's. So we will recover every nickel of that bill. If it was built into your monthly assessment, If it were built a little over or a little under, it just disappears in the fluctuations of the budget. So by pulling it out of there, it's going to be now it's not going to be a big number, but pulling it out of there, if there's any differences in the bill compared to what you have, it'll come out of it. So getting pass-through out of there, it was very important when Surprise was small city, had a lot of undeveloped land, because undeveloped land is not charged any stormwater runoff. Only developed land is. So anytime they charge for all the dump trucks they buy, all the earth movers, all the holes they dig, everything they do for stormwater is charged and split among all these equivalent units. As Surprise has got less undeveloped land, more equivalent units, that has gotten much more stable. In the last few years, it's been a pretty stable number. So it's time to roll it out of there. And what happened in past revisions to the CC&Rs, because it was the only item, somehow it just got pulled in there as something that should be there. We're just saying, take it out of there so we can put it back in the assessments. The dollars are going to be the same or a little less, but they're going to be, there's no additional money going any place. Plus, it also now becomes limited to the 6% increase, whereas when it's passed through, it's not limited to 6%, it's going to go. So we're forced to make other budget changes to accommodate it. So it's really adding a little workload to the Finance Committee to figure out how to balance it. But it really is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Bill.
The only question I had on that was that the board, in its discretion, determines what should be categorized as pass-through. I just don't like that. I'm just throwing that out there to the board to keep that in mind, that those are the type of things that gets things stirred up. Just information only.
You need to keep in mind, just as a comment that Cindy already made, it has to fall into the definition of pass-through. It can't be anything just willy-nilly. It has to be under the definition, which means it applies to every lot the same, whatever kind of pass-through that would be. Doesn't mean we can just decide all of a sudden that, I don't know, office supplies is going to be a pass-through. It has to apply to every lot the same and qualify under the definition for pass-through.
Okay. Next question. Next change. Owner responsibility.
9.1, owner's responsibility. From, each owner shall furnish and be responsible for, at his own expense, all of the maintenance, repairs, and replacements within his own lot, including without limitation any landscaping and residence vehicle, Arizona room, or villa thereon, necessary or appropriate to keep his lot and any improvements thereto or thereon in good condition and repair and in a pleasing appearance consistent with the requirements hereof of the design guidelines. Any resident vehicle or recreational vehicle placed on a lot shall be maintained by the owner of such lot in roadworthy, like-new condition. Any Arizona room or villa located upon a lot shall be maintained by the owner of such lot in thoroughly excellent, like-new condition. Proposed to, each owner shall furnish and be responsible for, at his own expense, all of the maintenance, repairs, and replacements within his own lot, including without limitation any landscaping and recreational vehicle, Arizona room, or manufactured home thereon, necessary or appropriate to keep his lot and any improvements thereto or thereon in good condition and repair and in a pleasing appearance consistent with the requirements hereof of the design guidelines. Any manufactured home or recreational vehicle placed on a lot shall be maintained by the owner of such lot in like new and roadworthy motorized vehicles condition. Any Arizona room located upon a lot shall be maintained by the owner of such lot in thoroughly excellent like new condition. Note, replaces resident vehicle with new definitions for housing units, recreational vehicle, and manufactured home, and provides insight to roadworthy.
Any questions?
This is why I moved to the front row, so I didn't have to go by people. Kathy Stark, 1405. How does one measure roadworthiness?
Can it be driven? Can you move it out of your lot and drive it out of here? Motorized. So if you have a motorhome, if you have a trailer, can it be driven out of here?
In my case, yes, because it goes out regularly. But
some we're not so sure.
Right. No, I know. And so I understand that as a practical, but how does patrol or whoever drives around and reviews, how do they know that that's a roadworthy fifth wheel and that one's not a roadworthy fifth wheel? So how can this measure be supported, be enforced?
We can ask you to drive it out.
No, but that's after. That's after the fact. You have to say to me, Kathy, can you drive this out? But how do you know driving around which ones meet that requirement?
To answer your question, compliance, and Darlene, you're back, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Compliance had started a process, I think they started last year, where they're trying to do their fall cleanup. And then that's when they were going around trying to determine what's considered roadworthy. It was many discussions with people that they bought units that had a fifth wheel, but they never moved the fifth wheel because that's where they're living at. So how do you prove that is roadworthy? You're right. Well, the only way we can do that is to make sure the tires are not flat, right? And that it still looks like new condition. So then the discussion was there are some motor homes that are still in the association that have never moved. So is that really a roadworthy vehicle? So the thought, my understanding, was that during that once a year cleanup, units that are supposed to be mobilized, like a motorhome, those individuals would be requested to show that their unit is still roadworthy. Can't do it with a fifth wheel, not necessarily a travel trailer, because people buy units with fifth wheels that don't have the ability to tow them because they're using that as their livable, habitable space. That was, Darlene, if I'm wrong on that, speak out.
Hi, Darlene. I'm Mickey Aston again, lot 13. I do have a question, pretty much like Kathy did. How are you going to judge if a recreational vehicle, travel trailer, fifth wheel, or specifically motorhomes are roadworthy? You can look at the tires. You cannot ask a person, I don't believe them. Okay, so I'm going into my opinion. How are you going to ask a person, like my friend Denise, who's lived across here? She was 90 some years old. She's been here. She just moved. The house was torn down. Her motorhome had sat there for 35 years and they had not driven it, and they drove it out just a few months ago. So it was roadworthy. I don't think you can judge easily if a vehicle is roadworthy. By looking at the tires does not make it roadworthy. By asking a person who doesn't drive a motorhome to drive it, I don't think is fair. And I think you're going to get into problems judging roadworthy. I don't know how you're going to do that. So I guess that's my question, following Kathy's.
Okay, so if I can answer one part of it, is that roadworthy is not a new nomenclature. Roadworthy has been in here. It's in the previous. It's proposed that the roadworthy would only apply to motorized vehicles. It's the only change, basically.
So it's picking out motorhomes.
Correct. So we're not adding it. It's been in there. It's in the original
I guess
It's in the original statement.
My question goes back to, how is the board going to enforce this? Is there a compliance officer?
We have a compliance officer.
That will go and
That's
ask
compliance.
an owner, is this vehicle roadworthy? Okay, wow.
Jody Ellis, 745. I just scared now. I need a little clarification. So if a park model is now an RV, and it's stuccoed,
It is not motorized.
roadworthy. Okay.
Motorized
We're talking
vehicles
about
need
these
to be
pull-ins and-
roadworthy.
Okay, because that's going to be tough.
Well, what are the tie downs then? Where does that all tie? The tie downs, like you need tie down. You don't know what the tie downs are? For the park model, yeah.
A lot, as I understand it, a lot of times they do take the tires off of them and they make them a permanent fixture to the land. So therefore they use the tie downs in order to structurally keep them in place for high winds and that. It does still have a VIN because a lot of them have a tongue and a lot of times they take the tongue off of that. But we all know that a park model, snuggle wide, are typically, they're not moving. They're going to stay in place. This only applies to motorized vehicles, which is a motorhome, one that can actually be driven.
Okay. Moving on to the next one, architectural landscape.
Okay. 10.1, appointment of design review committee. From, the association shall have a design review committee consisting of not less than 3 nor more than 5 persons as specified from time to time in the design guidelines by resolution of the board members of the design sorry, I got lost in this. By resolution of the board members of the design review committee shall be appointed by the board. Persons appointed to the design review committee must be owners or satisfy such other requirements as may be set forth in the design guidelines. 2, the association shall have a design review committee consisting of not less than 3 nor more than 7 persons as specified from time to time in the design guidelines by resolution of the board. Members of the design review committee shall be appointed by the board. Persons appointed to the design review committee must be owners or satisfy such other requirements as may be set forth in the design guidelines. The board of directors liaison will be the chairman and a voting member of the design review committee per Arizona State Statute 33-1817B1. Note, aligns number of committee members with all other committees within the association, explains the requirement of board of directors liaison to be the chairman of the committee per Arizona State Statute.
Any questions on this one? Okay. All right. Next one, section 11, use and occupancy restrictions. 11.9 vehicles. From, no boats or trailers shall be parked or stored on the property except in designated storage areas and temporarily on private roads for ingress and egress and for loading or unloading as provided by association rules. No motor vehicles, including without limitation motorbikes and cycles, may be operated on the property by anyone other than a property license operator, and any such vehicle must satisfy in all respects the requirements of governmental authorities for operation on public streets. Any golf cart to be operated by any owner, guest, or occupant on the property must be electric. 2, no boats or trailers shall be parked or stored on the property except in designated storage areas and temporarily on private roads for ingress and egress and for loading or unloading as provided in association rules. No motor vehicles, including without limitation motorbikes and cycles, may be operated on the property by anyone other than a properly licensed operator, and any such vehicle must satisfy in all respects the requirements of governmental authorities for operation on public streets. Golf carts may only be operated by a licensed driver. Motor-driven bikes or cycles may only be operated by adults in accordance with all applicable laws and ordinances and must be properly lighted if operated at night. This allows for street-legal golf carts and states the requirement for a licensed driver per state statute. I'd like to explain this one before we have questions on this one. I know that there's been a number of concerns about gasoline and gasoline golf carts. This was brought on by a number of people asking why we don't have gasoline golf carts. And my response has been to them when they've been brought to me that it was first brought because of noise, excuse me, and that their response was, well, diesel vehicles are a lot, or as noise, if not noisier than them. And then I've heard the response of, oh my goodness, there's going to be gas cans in the sheds and that's flammable. And I get this look like, what about all the gas-powered leaf blowers that are already here? And that certainly requires a gas can to fill those. And that's been here for a long time already. And why hasn't anybody been concerned about that? When gas golf carts, gas tanks are 4.5 gallons, which is a lot larger than a 1-gallon gas can. So why wouldn't you drive it to the gas station to fill it? Which makes me go, Anyway, when you stop to think about what's flammable, I would surmise that there are more sheds that have more flammable things in them, like paint thinner, propane, lithium batteries that burst, and other flammable things in here that most of the firemen that are retired in here can raise their eyebrows at, than the maybe possible idea of someone that just might have a gas can full of gas. So it's questionable. And again, the two fires that have happened in the last decade that I've been here have been propane. So if we're going to be scared about fires, the propane has been far more flammable. And if we look about propane here, and stopping flammable, we'd have to shut down the resort because we couldn't eat or we couldn't heat anything without propane here. So that's those fears. And the only reason that I even considered putting gas golf carts here is to appease the people that said, at least put it to a vote. If you vote it down, then you vote it down, and those people have had their opportunity to put it out there. Now I'll take the questions.
Kathy Stark, 1405. If you had only made it about the gas carts, that would have been one thing that you could vote it up or down. But this actually has two things: more clarification of who is allowed to be driving bikes and motor-driven cycles in the park, and the removal of the terminology for gas golf carts. So it's not just a yes or no on the golf, it's you have two items, and so I have to give up my right to define who can drive around on motorized bicycles if I don't want to have gas carts here. So that argument I have trouble with, because I do want the first part of this statement. As to why we don't want golf carts, and I'm more than willing to have somebody tell me why they want a golf cart, a gas golf cart. Noise from a diesel, my diesel pusher, I drive it in, it sits for weeks, months, however long it sits, and then it goes out again. My golf cart is in and out and backing up here, and it would, if it were gas, be making noise all the time. Yes, there's people that have side-by-sides in here. Some of them trailer them in. Some of them drive them around in the park. And if you're outside trying to have a conversation, it's almost like fighting the airplanes flying overhead. So I don't like this change the way it's written because it has the 2 items in it.
Donna Wisdom 379. Okay, to answer your question on one, I just bought a new golf cart. It's electric, it's lithium, not happy about that, but it is. And if I would have been able at that time to buy a gas golf cart, I would have. It would have saved me over $4,000, okay? That's number one. Number two, there are diesel trucks that go up and down my street every single day that make tons of noise. It's their only vehicle. I get it, and I'm okay with that. I have people who have motorcycles that start them up and drive around with their motorcycles. They're just as noisy. I have a friend who has a gas golf cart that you don't even know it's running, just like the electric golf cart. So I'm for people getting, if they want a gas golf cart, let them have them. I mean, seriously, really, I don't understand the problem. As for the other part of this one, it says that only licensed drivers can drive a golf cart. I am 100% for that. Because if I see one more child sitting on somebody's grandma's lap, driving a golf cart and almost hitting going into people's yards, I'm going to scream. So yeah, that's good too. As for electric bikes, most of the time you don't hear them, and it's okay as long as the child is taught how to ride them. So I don't care about that. But I do care about the electric gas golf carts, or the gas golf carts, because people should be allowed to buy what they want and use what they want. And there is a lot of noise around here. Those things don't make a lot of noise. They really don't.
Barb Fugelberg, Lot 205. My only concern about this has to do with being driven by a licensed driver. And we already have in our rules and regs that kids aren't allowed, unlicensed drivers aren't allowed to drive their golf carts. And I think we do often think about it's the kids we don't want driving. But I also just want to remind us that we are all getting older. And at some point in time, your children, like I should have done with my parents before their fatal accident, are going to be asking their parents to give up their driver's license. And I think we probably have many people in this community who have already done that, and their golf cart is their only means of transportation. So my only concern is the licensed driver, because some of us are going to have to retire from driving too. Driving our cars and our RVs.
My concern about that is we're having as much accidents in the golf carts as we are in the automobiles. And age is some of the issue with that. So.
Maynard Bethune, 1621. I haven't heard anybody speak about air pollution. It seems to me that that should be one of our big considerations, especially this day and age. So I'm against having gas golf carts where we don't have people driving 30 or 40 miles that they need that kind of distance. So that's all I got to say about that.
All right, questions though. That's comment. Questions?
This, Jody Ellis, 745. Sorry, Maynard. I don't see why, if there's side-by-sides, they're carrying gas on the backs, a lot of them. I don't understand what the difference, I don't have a golf cart. because I don't want to have to plug it in and buy new batteries and all that. I would buy a gas one, however. I don't understand why it's okay for a side-by-side. I know it's a licensed vehicle, I get that part. But for us talking about safety and having gas, I don't see the difference. Side-by-sides, they're noisy. I think they're kind of tearing up our streets. I don't think a golf cart would do that, a gas. So what, I just don't feel like we're really talking about whatever it is we're talking about, because they're the same to me.
Okay, unless we have any further questions on this issue, we'll move on. The question? No, she said, okay.
Marion Connolly, lot 1645. I don't own a golf cart. I don't care whether your golf cart is gas or electric. I just wish you would follow the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit when you go down my street. My question is, why don't we enforce that speed limit?
Karen Cox, Lot 373. I have two different things. One of them is a comment, kind of what Barb was talking about, and I'm not sure. I wasn't sure what her point was. She thinks people should be allowed to drive golf carts if they're not licensed. Is that what you were saying? But they can still drive a golf cart? Let me tell you just a brief thing about that. I was sitting in the chuck wagon one day, and I overheard a conversation at the next table, two guys. And he said, well, how's your wife doing? Oh, she's doing pretty well. She's been declared legally blind, but she still drives around in the golf cart around here within Happy Trails. Scared me to death. I didn't know who he was, so I can't watch out for her, but anyway. So that's on that. I'm a little concerned about that. The other thing is, you had indicated that we would be able to vote for each thing individually. What is each thing? Is that like each one of these that we're going over, is that one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
So unless you could split that, the concern that some people have here of they'd go for the licensing but not the gas, or vice versa. Unless you could separate them into two different votes, then that is going to be a problem. As somebody said, they go along with part of it but not all of it.
Okay, next one, parking. Oops, sorry.
Sorry, Patrice Carmody, lot 946. So currently, side-by-sides and ATVs are okay in the park?
Yes, they are already.
Okay, okay, thank you.
They're street legal, so that's why.
Don't we have rules on driving golf carts with license already?
No.
Oh, we don't? Anybody can drive?
Yes, sir.
It's in rules and regs that the kids are not supposed to be. You're supposed to have a state driver's license, a licensed driver. It's in rules and regs.
It says
No,
an adult.
we're trying
It doesn't say
to,
driver's license.
yeah, it says adults, yeah. They're
No,
under the CC&R. CC&Rs are priority over the rules and regs. I'm sorry, it says adults. It does not
It
say
says
driver's
adults
license.
in rules and regs. It doesn't say driver's license. That's a difference.
Mickey Aston, Lot 13, Section 11, Use and Occupancy Restrictions, 11.9 vehicles from, I think it's the second sentence, properly by anyone other than, okay, cycles, may be operated on the property by anyone other than a properly licensed operator, and any such vehicle must satisfy all respects. I think we are saying in our current CC&Rs that you should be a properly licensed operator.
motor vehicle.
No motor vehicles, including without limitation, motorbikes and cycles may be operated on the property by anyone other than a properly licensed operator, and any such vehicle must satisfy all the respects and the requirements of government authorities for operation on public streets. And then you are taking out that it must be electric. And
Properly licensed electric. We're just
also, I'm not able to follow Kathy Stark. Help me on the second paragraph of this one, the last sentence where it says, and must be appropriately lighted to be operated at night. That's not included in the from paragraph at the top. It should be in red, or it should be, so there's a mistake. There's a mistake elsewhere also, but I'll hold that for later.
Yes. Okay.
Were you all just making changes to the first reading?
No, I made a note that it should be in red, that last sentence.
Well, it's not even included.
What do you mean?
It's not even included
Oh, it's already.
as a takeout, as a removal, as a edit, as a deletion. So it's being added. Oh, I thought it was in the from, but it's not. Oh, so it's something that's being added. You know, I think I knew that because I looked at the full doc. Okay. How does that work at this point in time to make something red?
It's just easier for you to read is all.
Okay. Okay. Just catches my eye. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, moving on to parking.
11.10 parking. From, no residence, vehicle, or other vehicle of any type shall be repaired or rebuilt, including oil changes and engine repairs on any lot or upon the common areas, and no vehicle of any type shall be parked on the private streets or any portion of the common areas except in such parking areas as may be designated by the association. The association may remove or cause to be removed any unauthorized vehicle at the expense of the owner thereof in any manner consistent with applicable law. Recreational vehicles and other vehicles may be parked temporarily on private roads for ingress and egress and for loading or unloading as provided in the association rules. One or more storage areas for recreational vehicles, boats, and motor vehicles may be made available or on or in the vicinity of the property by a developer, declarant, and or the association at reasonable cost to owners. No more than one recreational vehicle may be parked on a lot at any time. Proposed 2, no vehicle of any type shall be repaired or rebuilt, including oil changes or engine repairs on any lot or upon the common areas, and no vehicle of any type shall be parked on the private streets or any portion of the common areas except in such parking areas as may be designated by the association. The association may remove or cause to be removed any unauthorized vehicle at the expense of the owner thereof in any manner consistent with applicable law. Recreational vehicles and other vehicles may be parked temporarily on private roads for ingress and egress or for loading or unloading as provided in the association rules. One or more storage areas for recreational vehicles, boats, and motor vehicles may be made available on or in the vicinity of the property by developer, declarant, and or the association at reasonable cost to owners. No more than one recreational vehicle may be parked on a lot at any time. This clarifies the language specifying no vehicle maintenance is allowed, except for an emergency, of course.
Debbie Heim, lot 1157. You're saying no maintenance should be done. So you're saying that people can't or say, call in somebody, not an emergency, mind you, to fix or do something on your vehicle. You're making a blanket thing. you need an exception there for allowing people to order help to come and help you, even if it isn't an emergency.
So the only change that was made was no residence vehicles or other vehicle, just to say no vehicle of any type. It pertains primarily to oil changes, things of that nature. I don't think anybody has ever called somebody if they've had an emergency that we've not allowed something to be done. I guess
Yeah,
I'm not
but I
completely
mean, there
understanding
should
your
be-
question.
That should be listed as an exception, that work can be done by somebody else to come in and help you. And that you have a blanket, none of that stuff can be done on the lots. And I think there should be an exception for, paying somebody to come in and help you.
It has been. The exceptions has been when, for instance, when my motorhome refrigerator needed work on, we called Robert to come in and do that. The only change that's been done here is just changing from resident vehicle to no vehicle. It's really oil changes and that sort of stuff.
Brad Midkiff, lot 1201. So does that mean that the guy that comes through with the trailer has to not come in the park at all? Because there's oil changes going on all the time. The other comment I have to make is you guys make a lot of rules, but they're never enforced. What's the point? I mean, it's like, okay, nobody's going to enforce it, so why should we even vote on it? It's just not, it doesn't make sense. Nothing's enforced anymore. Nobody wants to take responsibility in any of our boards or even security. They don't want any part of it. So somebody needs to enforce some of this stuff.
Well, Brad, I will answer that at our executive meetings, we seem to have quite a few owners that are coming in and asking for a waiver or getting their fine removed. So I know we are doing enforcement. You may not see it because it didn't happen in your timeline or it didn't happen to the person that lives next to you that you think something should be done. It's 2001 lots. Our compliance person is completely busy. Of course, we're down a person now because of a golf cart accident, that we are enforcing things. They just may not happen in your timeline, and for that, I can't help on that.
Well, I know one lot that has 2 RVs on it. They come and go with the camper, and the RV stays there. So where is
that a truck camper, and is that their
Yes.
only vehicle? And if you'll read the rules and regulations, that's actually allowed. If they have a
So
fifth
they
wheel
can-
and they have a truck camper and the truck camper is their only form of vehicle, they're allowed to do that. And just because you see them come and go, Brad, I got to tell you, you may not know if they have a fine because that's not publicized out to the general public.
Well, they plug it in and they live in it. So that's,
Then
a
that's
second-
something that can be filed up with management and they can run a check on it. But then that's a proof you're asking compliance to try and find. But right now, under the rules and regulations, as stated, if a truck camper is the only form of vehicle for the individual to transport in and out on, they're allowed to have that on their lot along with their fifth wheel. May not agree with it, but that's in the rules and regs.
Okay. So to answer my question, does that mean the guy that comes in here to service with a trailer, there's a couple of them, they can't come in anymore if this is passed?
What are they servicing? And the only thing we're doing, we've not changed anything in the actual document itself. All we've changed is the verbiage that says no residence vehicle or other vehicle to no vehicles of any type. Nothing's changed in the document itself, just those words.
So, but they've been there and we're still allowing it.
I don't know what vehicle you're talking about that's coming around. So I'm just asking,
The mechanics.
is it Robert's rule, RV mechanics?
Well, and there's other ones too. Bullseye.
Okay.
They come in with big trailers and they'll do
But they're
anything you
coming
want.
and then if they're doing oil changes, they're not supposed to. If they're fixing a furnace that's broke, that's considered an emergency type situation. No different than a park model that has an air conditioner that goes out, we get somebody in to fix that. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Marion Conley, 1645. My question, are the streets in here private roads or public roads? Because some of these things say public roads.
Yeah, yes, ma'am, they're private roads.
They're all private roads.
In here, we own them.
Even
That's
the-
why we can't assign, that's why police can't come in and give
Even the
tickets.
two main ones, Roy
Yes, ma'am.
Rogers and, okay, thank you.
Mickey Aston, Lot 13, 11.10, parking. No resident vehicles, you're changing that. No resident vehicles or other vehicle. Yeah, not all of that is redlined. So it's saying now no vehicles of any type whatsoever. Currently, prior to this proposed changes happening or not happening, are park models considered a vehicle?
No, they are not drivable. They are not a vehicle. They have a VIN number, but they are not a vehicle. Like a fifth wheel or a trailer.
They're a towable. They're okay.
Not a motorized vehicle.
Okay. I guess my question is, if I got to pose a question, what are we allowing and not allowing? Because you say including oil changes and engine repairs. Are you allowing someone to come in and change a flat tire, change tires, install new tires, paint?
We simplified the verbiage. I'm not quite sure why it is such an issue. It says no residence vehicle, which before, remember, residence vehicle was an RV or recreational vehicle, a manufactured home, a park model, single wide, double wide, or other vehicle, which would have been probably a car, a motorcycle, a golf cart. So all we did was just say no vehicle of any type. We haven't changed anything in the document other than just the verbiage of labeling out vehicles to one word, no vehicle of any type.
I think the reason that it's an issue with people have questions is because it happens so much right now. Golf carts, vehicles, cars, trucks, side-by-sides. So it happens all the time. We're just wondering, how are you going to enforce it? How are you going to change it so that you can enforce it?
I just want to get clarified on Chuck RV 354. Now, any vehicle, because you brought it up too. I mean, we bought a travel trailer. I need to have a little bit of warranty work on it, but it's not an emergency. I just want them to come and fix the trim or the refrigerator because it's inside, or if I'm ask them to do an annual maintenance, check the propane systems and everything else. That's included.
That's allowed.
That's allowed, as long as it's not oil changes or any major engine. Okay, I just want to make sure I get that clarified. Thanks.
I just have a verbiage issue. The property by developer and the declarant, aren't they the same thing? Because the developer is the one who built here, and his declarant is if he decided back then what his yeah, okay, just so.
My question is, if we're going to make it where you can't change your oil, I don't do it myself, but there should be a designated area that we can use in order to do that.
To answer the question, I believe there is the car wash.
Lisa Day, 1317. Quick question for clarification. Brad had asked about how enforcement takes place, and I think, Roberta, you answered that. Is that right? Yes.
As I understood.
What I think I heard you say is that violations are discussed in executive session. And my understanding is that those type of violations are not to be discussed in executive session.
When an owner requests us to waive their fine, that's brought into the executive session, and it is authorized based on our management team's guidance.
But you're talking about, he was talking about other violations. So are you talking?
He was talking about fines. Fines are from compliance. So if someone gets a fine for not doing something they're supposed to do, and if they want it waived, They send a letter to the boards requesting time, and that's done in the executive session.
And you're comfortable with that. Thank you.
Lisa, if somebody gets a fine, okay, Donna, 379, if somebody gets a fine and they want it waived, and you guys take it to the executive, which is keeping that information private between the board and that person with the fine. Right. I would accept that because I would not want my information broadcast throughout the public here because I got a fine for something. And, you know, I agree with that.
It's authorized.
Yes. Thank you.
Tom Corkle, 2158. It says that you can't work on your vehicle on your property or common area, but we do have the place up next to the car wash. That's common area. Maybe there could be a distinction for that piece there.
Says of the common areas except in such parking areas as may be designated by the association. That's a designated area by the association.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure, I'm ready.
Okay, next one.
1113, trash containers and collection, proper maintenance. From, no garbage or trash shall be placed or kept on any lot except in below ground covered containers of a type, size, and style which are approved in writing by the board or authorized by the association rules. The board shall have the right in its sole discretion to require all owners to subscribe to a trash service in the event the cost of such service may be billed to the association as a common expense or separately to lot owners as the board deems most efficient or desirable. Each owner shall be responsible for removal of all rubbish, trash, or garbage from his lot, and such shall not be allowed to accumulate thereon. No incinerator shall be operated, kept, or maintained on any portion of the property without the prior written approval of the board. Proposed 2. No garbage or trash shall be placed or kept on any lot except in below ground covered containers of a type, size, and style which are approved in writing by the board or authorized by the association rules. Each owner shall be responsible for maintaining their in-ground container and keeping their lot free of debris. No incinerator shall be operated, kept, or maintained on any portion of the property without the prior written approval of the board. This clarifies language with regard to using a common trash service for all owners. And let me clarify in this because this is one that went around on Facebook insanely. We are not trying to make you pay for your service. Currently, as it is written, a board can come in and say, you know what? You guys need to find your trash service. And we would end up with 3 different companies coming in here 5 days a week. So we are taking that statement out. So it is a requirement that the trash will be managed by the board or by management, basically one company delegated in that manner. That's what's trying to be taken care of. If you don't like that, go ahead and don't pass it. Some other board could come in the future and designate everybody get your own trash service. I don't want to see 3 companies. I don't want to see trash picked up 5 days a week. Any questions?
Well, thank you for that, and that's a relief. I do have one comment. For people like me, I'm old and short, and I don't have a trailer or a pickup truck. Using all of the dumpsters now with limited time that we can go there, it's very hard for some of us to use that facility on a schedule. It was much easier for me to take, let's say, clippings from my bushes and stuff in small amounts down to the dumpster that used to be at the end of my street or over by NC2. And I think that was a mistake to put everything in. And I understand why you did it, but it makes a hardship on some of it.
Okay, we're sorry for that. We did have to make a decision on that, but we may have something coming in the future that might help you with that, okay?
Maynard Mattoon, 1621. I've got a question on above in excess of your garbage can. Now, I put my cardboard out whenever my cardboard container is fixed, and it sits there. When the garbage man comes, he dumps it. And as far as this young lady here, we have help out there where they'll take it out of the trunk of your car or wherever you got it and dump it for you. Okay, and the reason we're open at certain hours is we can't get enough volunteers, number one, and the cost to have somebody sitting out there 5 days a week instead of the 3 day would be a lot. So, and it's open 3 days a week. I believe it's 10 to 2. So, okay, thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Donna 379. Correct me if I'm wrong. When the big trash cans got reduced down to the different hours, and certain things were not being allowed to be thrown away anymore, we were told that we could have a trash can or something next to our can taken out the day of pickup, and where you could put your twigs and everything in, or your boxes broke down, and that's still the way it is, right? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, next. All right, 11.15, safe conditions. From, without limiting any other provisions in this section, each owner shall maintain and keep his lot at all times in a safe, sound, and sanitary condition, and repair, and shall correct any condition or refrain from any activity which might interfere with the reasonable enjoyment by other owners of their respective lots or common areas. Generators may only be used in limited circumstances as provided in the association rules when electric current is not otherwise available to a lot. No firearms may ever be displayed on any portion of the property by other than authorized security personnel. 2, without limiting any other provision in this section, each owner shall maintain and keep his lot at all times in a safe, sound, and sanitary condition, and repair, and shall correct any condition or refrain from any such activity which might interfere with the reasonable enjoyment by other owners of their respective lots or the common areas. Generators may only be used in limited circumstances as provided in the association rules when electric current is not otherwise available to a lot. No firearms shall be displayed on common areas or association buildings by anyone other than authorized security personnel unless given an authorized waiver by the Board of Directors. The notation on this is provides stronger, more specific requirements for firearms within the common areas or association buildings.
Chuck Harvey, 354. I guess I want to know, is there going to be, or is there currently a policy for the board to give authorization and what those requirements are going to be by the board to let them have firearms as an authorized in the common areas?
So you're asking if there is a process in place?
Yes, or a policy that's going to be written if this passes.
Not that I'm aware of. Marie, can you speak to that?
I'm
wants
sorry,
to
sir.
know-
I was having a sidebar. Will you please say it one more time?
Sure. Is there going to be, or is there currently a policy or a guideline that will be posted that gives how the authorization by the board to allow them to have firearms in common areas?
Oh, okay. So this is where I think this would go, is if during the clubs, I'm running some airheads, so please don't go nuts on Facebook with this. Okay. If let's say we have a clubs festival, we have a club fest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the firearms enthusiast group wanted to come to the club and display a weapon for whatever reason, an old M1 or something from World War II. They couldn't do that currently.
Correct.
Okay, so the thought would be that they could request a waiver by the board to be able to display a weapon at the club festival in this building with all the other clubs. And then the board would have to probably vote on that at a board meeting.
But the way this is also written, that if I get authorization from you guys, I could go into the chuck wagon with a firearm, and I could show like a concealed thing. I've been authorized to carry that.
So first of all, concealed carry has nothing to do with this. That is a state law. Concealed carry, you are allowed to walk into any of these buildings if your weapon is concealed.
Unless there's a sign
Period.
that posts it, like
The chuck wagon says
that there's
no
fire.
open arms. Does he even have concealed? I don't think he has concealed on there. I think he says no weapons of any kind, because there was someone that walked in, because it is an open carry state. Somebody walked in and he prefers not to have any weapons in there. So, correct.
So
in
there
that
is
aspect.
going to be no, you guys are just going to vote, the club or I as an individual want to have an authorization to carry a weapon. It still has to go through you, and you have authorization.
Well, first of all, I'm going to go back to, if it's a concealed carry, we have no control on that because that's a state requirement. You're allowed to have a concealed carry. This has to do primarily if somebody wants to display a weapon in one of our common buildings, the PAC, NC1, NC2, they would have to receive an authorization by the board in order to do that. Usually at a club festival.
Frank Holland, 1513. Is there a rule against open carry as far as getting in your side-by-side and going out the gate for a trip? I mean, are we going to get stopped?
Okay, we're going to get split in hairs here. As far as I'm concerned, there's
Well, I
no
don't
issue.
know.
I'm all good with it. You're in your vehicle and you have your 45 on your hip, we'll say, because you're going out in the desert. No one's going to be stopping you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I realize you're trying to finish up. Mickey Aston, Lot 13, can you give me a timeline on when we will be able to have the full, complete document on the CC&Rs and the bylaws to review?
Give us a couple days. I would say give us
The red line version. I can get the regular version off. I'm assuming you're working
By
off
the
of,
end of the week.
I'm assuming you're working off of a full red line document right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
by Friday?
What is today?
I don't know. Wednesday.
Okay, by 5 p.m. on Friday.
How about 3:30 before the office closes?
It's going to get posted by somebody, so by 5 p.m. on Friday is fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time and your questions.